then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb thrower who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. You know, the boxes hoax, as we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the Act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine? This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-a-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room in which they were locked. The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it? The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records. Everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before. Can't even believe it. Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not.
Today, I'm eager to share something that'll bring hope and progress to our.
All right, hey, shalom, shalom. Call Loyim Layahawa, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, salutations to you, Akim, pushing the work of truth and sincerity. So I just wanted to draw attention to how the Lord is pretty much, confounding this kingdom and, forwarding his will, all right? Because everything that we're seeing is according to the Lord's will, all right? So I have Matthew 12 and 25, and it says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, all right? And that's what we're seeing in the case of Great Babylon, okay? So the Lord's will for this place is ultimately to divide it and destroy it, okay? And we're seeing certain parts of, the downfall of this place, gradually happening, all right? And it's been gradually happening, but we're coming to the point where the deal is sealed, all right? So it says, in every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And we know this society is not going to stand because of these signs, all right? And if Satan cast out Satan, because that's what's happening now, all right? Satan is casting out Satan, okay? All right? He is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? All right? And that's what we're seeing. His kingdom is not going to stand. So that's, more sign to show you that, this society is failing, okay? According to the will of the Heavenly Father, okay? So, again, it says, if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand? That's right, it can't stand, all right? It can't. All right, this is Luke chapter 12 and 49. Let me get straight to the point. All right, Luke 12:49, I am come to send fire on earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? All right. So what can the Lord do if it's already kindled? And it's kindled through, the wars and rumors of wars. Eventually, these societies are going to break down. All right. But when the Lord comes, he's coming to bring more fire. All right. So, but I have a baptism that, Salaki, let me get verse 51, Salaki. It says, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division. All right. So a lot of people have it misconstrued on what the purpose of the Lord is. He's coming to bring fire. He's not coming to bring peace. He's coming to bring division. As it says here, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division. All right. So, and that's what's happening. The Lord is bringing division. All right. So we know things are looking up. They're on schedule, so to speak. All right. Let's see. There's a point I wanted to get from Isaiah 14. Oh, here we go. Isaiah 14:4 says that thou shalt take up this proverb. Oh, let's see. Oh, here we go. Because, this sums up our plight. And when we see the society, crashing, we're one step closer to the kingdom. Isaiah 14:3, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear. So this is a step closer to this precept. All right. The dividing or the division within, this society. It says, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. So the Lord is working. All right. And this is a sure sign to show you that the Lord is working. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. All right. And we're seeing it ceasing because of the infighting. All right. And it's going to go into that. It says, the Lord Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. All right. So the Lord there's a shift in power. All right. And this society, the Western civilization, is falling. Okay. We're seeing, nations essentially fleeing, the West and going towards BRICS, and the BRICS represents a new power structure under the rule of, the Russians and the Chinese. All right. So you can look BRICS up. It's actually an acronym for, here, let's get it. And not to go too far off. All right. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. All right. And they formed an alliance. And essentially, they're doing away with the dollar. And as we speak right now, that's happening. And that's the turning of the tide. All right. We're at the end of this age. And we're ushering in a new age. All right. So Isaiah 14 and 6. He who smote the people. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. You see? So none is hindering his persecution, right? The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing because that's the result of this oppressive society being brought down. Everything is going to be at peace. It says, yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon saying, since thou art laid down, no feller has come up against us. All right, a feller is one that cuts down trees, and that's essentially what this society, the West, has done under the auspices of the Edomites. All right, in their military expansion. All right, to take over resources and occupation. All right, so it says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee, for thee to meet thee at thy coming. All right, essentially destruction. It stirred up the dead for thee, and those are the BRICS nations, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? You see, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, meaning your pride, and they become weak as them, because what? Economically, they're being exposed. Okay, this society is, losing all sorts of ways. Okay, the number one thing is financially. Number two, because that's what holds the society up. Number two is morally. This place is heavy into decadence, so it doesn't have a moral standard. And by default, if you don't have a moral standard, you don't have a foundation that you can stand on, and principles that you can stand on. So everything is in chaos, as you see with them going after Trump. And I put that video there to just show you, the infighting and Satan fighting against each other. So how art thou fallen from heaven? Ooh, Salaki, here's the point. Then I'm gonna, Lord will, if I have another precept, I'll go to it. Isaiah 14:11, thy pomp is brought down to the grave. And that's why, what proves that is Trump. During his administration, his slogan was "Make America Great Again," the MAGA. All right, MAGA. And what showed you that is, it was a push, Salaki. It was a push to make America great again. Everybody wore MAGA hats. All right, what they needed, that pride restored in America. Okay, and essentially that's what President Trump was doing. But the Lord had other plans. All right, and so they raised up Biden. All right, buy to trust. Right, so they raised up Biden and essentially, poured more cash into the system and inflated the society. All right, and bringing it down to essentially nothing now. So it says in the noise of thy vows. All right, the music, right? The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. All right, and that's what's happening. And the worm represents the corrosion, the corruption. All right, and which we see. Okay, we see it. All right, we see what the Lord is having mercy on Jacob. All right, and He's fighting for Israel, and you got to be spiritual and discern prophecy, so that. All right, so the Lord is definitely working. Okay, all right. All right, Isaiah 34, and ultimately it's going to come to Battle of Armageddon. All right, the war to end all wars. Okay, World War III. Okay, which this is what we're hoping for, but we're hoping for it, but they're pushing it. They're pushing war. All right, so it's a sure sign, man, and that's heavy. All right, so this is really a time to rejoice, because these prophecies are coming to pass. All right, these signs, we're seeing these signs in this for sure. All right, as the scriptures say, the Lord's words are faithful and true, and we can take that in consideration. Isaiah 34:8, well, this is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Now, recompense is to pay someone back. Okay, and this is what the Lord is doing essentially by bringing division, ultimately leading to the next event, and these events is leading towards our salvation. So we can definitely have that in consideration. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. This is the future of America. All right, this is the future of America, which in the next lesson, Lord willing, I can touch on that a little bit more. You know, the devastation and destruction of Great Babylon, the end of oppression, the end of tyranny, all right, under the rule and auspices of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. We call him so-called because that's not a nationality. White is a social construct, all right, that has, you know, as the world say, bigotry, you know, and that it has that element to it, you know, to make people feel inferior, especially you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you know, because we're black or brown or we're spics or niggas to these individuals who are Edomites. But hey, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Just want to touch on this really quick. All right. You know, Lord willing, I'll hit you with the next lesson. You know, until next time, I say shalom.
Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death. Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things to my home, which President Obama has done, the Bushes have done, Jimmy Carter's done, Ronald Reagan has done. Everybody's done. In fact, Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails. And that was okay. But nobody's done it like Joe Biden. This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change, who others of his ilk say he's even worse than they are, is only looking at Trump, yet Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown. You believe that? Just got $10 million from China. Where did that come from? I guess they were banking on Hunter's expertise, and had others stored in unsecured offices in Pennsylvania and strewn all over his garage floor, where his now very famous Corvette is also stored. All over the floor, including classified documents. But that's okay. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up. But isn't that real obstruction? That's obstruction. As president, I have the right to declassify documents. And the process is automatic. If I take them with me, it's automatic. Declassified. Biden was vice president. He had absolutely no right to declassify as vice president. He doesn't come under the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law, which has very severe penalties. He had classified documents that he took